manage that. I'll watch the chat for you. And then
Okay.
just an administrative note, if everybody could mute unless you have a question, just to make sure that we don't pick up background noise and stuff. Okay?
All right.
All right.
All right.
Well, take it away, Darren. Thank you.
Can everybody see my screen? I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. So thanks. Yeah, so FileMaker 16 launched May 9th, 2 days ago. Major release for us. You know, we had some platform changes, some architecture changes a couple of versions back. FileMaker 15 was a what I would consider more of a foundational release. Still, you know, laying the foundation for some of the stuff to go forward, and I think FileMaker 16 is finally taking advantage of some of the foundational features that were laid in FileMaker 15. So I know people there were some people that thought FileMaker 15 had no meat on its bones, and I think a lot of that was just because we had to do so much under the hood stuff to prepare for some of the stuff that you'll see in FileMaker 16. So I think this is going to be a truly a landmark release. So my name is Darren Quick. I'm the Senior Business Regional Manager for the Southern U.S. I cover Texas, Oklahoma, and everything east along that Mason-Dixon line all the way over to North Carolina and everything south. So although I do not cover Tennessee anymore. Tennessee is one exception to that. So I'll give a couple of brief slides, just overview. This is a press demonstration that we've been giving out to the press and to the analysts under non-disclosure up until FileMaker 16 actually was released. And our tagline is still we deliver simply powerful software for easily creating custom apps that work seamlessly across iPad, iPhone, Windows, Mac, and the web. And we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Apple Computer. So that's some people still find that interesting, but we've been owned for probably 26 years now. So, all right. So we help people solve their business problems, and I think you'll notice some of these. These are some of our case study examples and videos out on the web. These are, you can find these under FileMaker Business Success Stories. Seabreeze Farms, and these are, Wood Frutiger. This is one of my customers. They went into an Apple store, saw a demo that I did a couple of years ago. I did the idea to iPad bundle. Quickly, the Martin Clapp, the guy on the right, he's a long time. It's a privately owned company, but they have over 150 salespeople deployed in the field selling food. They compete with like Cisco Foods and U.S. Foods. They're a small regional food distributor, but they have about 150 salespeople, and they have since written in the last 6 months. They've written probably 8 or 9 enterprise class sales tools for their mobile sales force. And this comes from knowing absolutely nothing to a very short amount of time they've been able to get up and running, and they're doing some really, really great things over there. In custom apps, they're making a difference around the world. We've got developers who donate their time. Oops, my screen just went to sleep. Who donate their time across the world. You see GoodWeave. This is another one of my customers, YWAM. They provide medical care services to residents of remote islands. This guy just goes over there. He went over there on a vacation one year and saw a need, and he goes, Marty from Gearbox, he donates his time yearly over there, getting medical records to the individuals in these small remote villages using FileMaker Go. And also, Somerset Emergency Volunteers helped after the large flood that they had. FileMaker is a global company now. We're available in 15 languages, and we used to state that we had over 20 million downloads or 20 million copies sold. Now, the way we're kind of measuring it now is, 1 million under active subscription. and that's growing every day. So that's quite a number, considering some of the people that are in our space these days who have a fraction of that. Even Google and some of those guys in the space we're in have less than 1 million. So again, we make technology accessible for everyone. We innovate so that small teams can transform the way they work. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone here. This is a thing that we try to position ourselves. If you look at the bottom line here, ease of development from a low to high. Of course, high being high ease of development, very easy to develop. Low being very, very difficult to develop. And then on the customization side, whether it's not customizable would be low customization, and high customizable would be highly customizable. So if you look at that, ideally, you want to be high on ease of development and high on customization as well. Some of our competitors' apps, from the App Store, very easy to develop, to deploy and get up and running. You simply download them from the App Store, load them on your device, and you're up and running. But again, they're very, very low on the customization. Absolutely, usually you can't customize them whatsoever. So you take an out-of-the-box solution, and it's not modifiable. Then on the other hand, you've got coding like Xcode, Swift, Objective-C, some of these high-end coding languages, and I would also throw web development into that category as well. Ease of development is not very easy. It's very, very difficult, long-term, high dollar, long-term projects, but you get a high degree of customization. You can pretty much customize it as well as you want, but it's not easy to do and very expensive. FileMaker fits in a great sweet spot here. We're very, very easy to develop in and give you an extremely high amount of customization to develop a workflow solution that works exactly to what your custom workflow is, and not some off-the-shelf application that's built for the broad masses. So again, easy to get started. We got a planning guide, a creation guide, and a deployment guide under our resources tab. So let's talk about the FileMaker 16 release. As you may or may not know, the FileMaker platform is built on a proprietary database engine, server engine called Draco. Draco is our secret sauce. It combines the data UI and interface layer and GUI and the business logic layer all in one application, which is very, very unique. As you know, it gives us our competitive advantage. And started with FileMaker Pro. We've optimized it in FileMaker Server, Pro Advanced, FileMaker Go now takes full advantage of the Draco platform, FileMaker WebDirect, and also FileMaker Cloud. So we've come full circle, and all of our products now take advantage of this incredible Draco engine, so to speak, that gives us our secret sauce in the industry. So let's talk about FileMaker 16. We have looked at it in 5 different categories, and we've gone for enhancements in the category of mobility, development, and I would venture to say that we targeted, and I think in FileMaker 15 and 14 we were highly focused on, or probably more heavily weighted on the citizen developer. I would venture to say that FileMaker 16 is much more heavily weighted towards the professional developer and the high-end programmer that make their living doing FileMaker development, as opposed to the citizen developer who has another job to do as well as be their FileMaker guy within the organization. Integration, obviously, with other platforms, security, and scalability. So in terms of mobility, FileMaker Go, we have now come up with, we've put into the products for FileMaker Go specifically animations and transitions with scripts. Now, what this does is this provides visual transitions to help orient customers as they navigate through the custom apps on Go, such as things like when you switch to a new layout, you can have transitions and animations that make it obvious that you're going to a different place within the solution. And this makes FileMaker Go look and act more like the native iOS apps that you're accustomed to, and much more like the ones that you see that are written in Objective-C and Xcode and Swift, because a lot of those take advantage of the animations and transitions that are available to them. And now we've added that so that now, in many cases, if you hide the interface, FileMaker Go really can look like a native iOS app. We enhanced the signature capture and allowed you now, as you knew, the first iteration of signature capture, you just had to click into a container field, and you were given an option to whether to take a picture or a video or sound or insert a picture or signature capture, but that was an extra step that people had to do, and then they had to go in and sign the thing and hit done. I think with FileMaker 15, we gave you the ability to script that so you could bypass that particular dialog box. And now with 16, we're adding in the addition to full screen and displaying the signature capture screen as an overlay, or you can actually embed it in a layout. So it's much more standard and integrated into your solution, as opposed to having a separate modal dialog box. With a signature capture, now you can just display the signature, again, as a full screen, as an overlay, or embedded inside, in a signature field within the layout, which is much more what people expect from digital signature capture on a mobile device. Region monitoring script step. Now this has to do with iBeacons and geofencing. If you remember, in 15 we added iBeacon support, and what happens is the developers would have to set up, previously you had to actively scan for the iBeacon devices and set up geofences. So you couldn't just have FileMaker walk by an iBeacon and have it tell you something was going on. You had to set a running script that searched for active beacons in your area continuously, and just just go through a rolling script over and over and over again. So now with FileMaker 16, you can automatically perform an action when an iOS device detects a nearby predefined beacon or geofence. So now, theoretically, you could do things like, I have a customer that is really excited about this because they have security guards that are required to have certain rounds within the buildings that they are securing. And with this, they can put a geo beacon at every one of the check-in locations, and the security guard with their iPhone on can just simply walk and do their normal rounds, and as they go by each iBeacon, it will automatically detect and notate that they were there and send a report so that they can track when and where the people were at the each of the locations that they're supposed to be at. And the other thing is, with FileMaker Go, we've added for printing user-defined paper sizes, and you can reorder existing paper sizes in FileMaker Go for ease of printing in your solution. Now, development, we've got a bunch of new things here. Again, a lot of these are tied to, again, the higher end developers. So layout objects window, let's talk about that. This allows you to view a hierarchical list of all objects that are on the layout, and you can select, hide, and name objects and change the stacking order. So now, a lot of these solutions that you create, you have to stack and layer and hide and do all sorts of crazy UI things. And if you suddenly have to, in version 15, if you have to go in and edit one of those layers, it can be a nightmare trying to group and ungroup those things and move them around and edit something and then put everything back the way it was to begin with. And now there's a whole interface that allows you to just select the layer that you want to do, work on it, put it back, and it does all that for you. That's one of the, I've talked to a lot of the developers in the area that had pre-release copies of FileMaker. That was huge. That was one of their favorite things. I think you're all familiar with the notion of cards, and cards, give you the ability to create like a window that allows your users to open other windows or files without first having to close that card. So you can have a floating card that is over top of the rest of your solution. You can still interact with other things behind it and still leave that card up front and active. I think you've seen a lot of these on the web, and it's another, it's another one of our UI enhancements that I think is going to be tremendously exciting for some of the developers. Huge one, PDF support. Now FileMaker Server and WebDirect. You can now print PDFs like invoices, labels, badges, and more from FileMaker WebDirect. And you can run automated reports and save other information such as PDFs using scripts performed on FileMaker Server. So in the web environment now, you can save as and print PDFs in WebDirect, which is huge. And that's something that's held a lot of customers back. I've gotten probably 5 or 6 calls, emails on that stating, "Hey, you've just changed my life with that feature there." So, any of you who have Windows customers, this is a huge one too. New UI on Windows OS. In the past you could only have one window, and it was really crazy. You couldn't stack and layer windows, and it just didn't act like FileMaker. And a lot of that was because of the way the Microsoft UI manager kind of handcuffed us into working the way we do on a Windows machine. But now we fully support single document interface on the Windows platform instead of the old multiple document interface. And with the single document interface, all your document windows are independent of each other, as opposed to before when they were all dependent on each other. It was really a nightmare dealing with different windows and doing window management in Windows on the Windows OS. And this has really been optimized. And the Windows users that I've shown this to, Volvo, one of my large customers up in North Carolina, is absolutely loving this as well, because this allows them to create the solution that works much more cross-platform than it did before. We now support for value list, copy and paste in the Manage Value List dialog box in FileMaker Pro. We can, as far as variables and data source references, you can now dynamically open hosted FileMaker files by specifying a variable when choosing a file path, as well as other things like insert from, script set, steps, and things like insert from URL, insert calculated result, date, time, user, name, file, text, other things. So you can now use variables and data source references. We enhanced the data viewer to support autocomplete for function names. We've improved the edit expression dialog box, and we automatically evaluate results for functions and resize the edit expression window so it can view all the results. So it resizes to the number of results you have in the window. And one that's not on here, but I'm going to tell it to you. FileMaker Pro now supports copy and paste for both table and fields, which was previously only supported in FileMaker Pro Advanced. And at DevCon, there's going to be several sessions out at DevCon this year that are going to touch on these new layout features. And you can get a closer look at the layout objects window and the cards. This will all be in the under the hood session on FileMaker layouts with Andrew Paulson from FileMaker. So integration, this is probably I would say is as big as anything. I had somebody just crying on the phone yesterday, crying good tears about JSON functions. And this is something that we've been working on. Again, this was a foundation that we built in 15, and we were able to now fully integrate this in. And so JSON functions, these provide you a set of predefined functions to parse and generate JSON data, which then you can use to you can use that data and exchange it with other data sources, such as any web service out there that has REST API. We have had with some of these JSON and curl options in the FileMaker Data API, you can now integrate with things like I was told that we integrated with MailChimp in about 10 mouse clicks, and they had FileMaker integrated with MailChimp. But there's a host of other, there's UPS shipping and tracking and all sorts of other stuff, and just lots and lots of web applications that we couldn't easily talk to before, and now we can. So enhanced curl options. This provides curl options to configure HTTP and HTTPS calls that work with with REST APIs. And the FileMaker Data API is a FileMaker server-based REST API that allows data interchange with other apps and services via REST APIs and JSON. So, in other words, other web services can now consume FileMaker server data that's given to them through the REST API. Now, this is going to be a trial initially. So it's a trial for about 1.5 years. So it's just a sort of a beta within the product, and it's going to expire on September 27th, 2018. At which point we will then decide where we're going to go with it, which way we want to enhance it, or things like that. So stay tuned with that. That's huge, really huge. We also came up with one of the things that we developed right out of the box is a tab. I don't know if you're familiar with Tableau. Tableau is a data visualization tool, a lot like SAS. That you hear big data, you hear visualizing your data and things like that. We created a Tableau web data connector, and this provides two-way integration with Tableau Desktop using the FileMaker Data API to help you visualize FileMaker data, which is part of and this is part of the data API trial. But I saw a demo of this where you have FileMaker with a bunch of customer locations by size of the customer, and you connect this to a Tableau, tell it the fields that you want to include in Tableau, and a map shows up with circles around the customer cities, and the bigger the circle, the larger the customers, the larger the customer base. So this is really, really a cool thing. Tableau has a lot of customers out there. They're interested in working directly with us, so we might get a lot of Tableau customers coming our way that need FileMaker help from you guys as well. Todd Geis is going to be doing a presentation on FileMaker connecting FileMaker on the web on the training day before the conference, and the conference innovation track is going to be all focused on this web integration with sessions like for example, how to interpret an API, and Let's Curl Up Together is the name of one session, and there's going to be another Under the Hood session on the FileMaker Data API with James Q from the FileMaker engineering team. This is an example of new in the next release are external script steps. And this is where we're going to be extending the FileMaker plugin SDK to support creation of external script steps. And these script steps will also support FileMaker plugins in apps created with FileMaker iOS app SDK. So now you'll be able to create plugins for your iOS apps to be used via the app SDK. And we're extending the Mac and Windows script workspace to display, add, edit, and remove external script steps from FileMaker scripts. These external script steps are going to work with FileMaker clients that support plugins, including server-side script engine. And now plugin developers are going to be able to develop iOS plugins, which are external script steps, which can then be built into their custom app using this iOS app SDK. And plugin developers are also going to be able to build their own UI for their custom scripts using the FileMaker provided XML description syntax. And there's an example of that shown in this screenshot. So if you're coming to DevCon, there's going to be a session on augmenting the FileMaker Pro SDK, is what it's called. And this will help you take advantage of the external script step plugins. And this is going to be conducted by Mike Beergy. I don't know if I pronounced that right. All right, so security. Most of you should be familiar with OAuth security. OAuth security provides a secure way to authenticate FileMaker users via third-party identity provider for simplified credential management. This is huge in the federal government space. It's huge in the medical space. It's huge in legal. And to give you an example, let's see here. So OAuth, easier ways to make changes to complex layouts and support for clearing language animations. Support for OAuth 2.0. This enables users to integrate third-party authentication systems. So users can now also sign in using their Amazon, Google, and Microsoft Azure credentials. So before, you could do Open Directory, Active Directory. Now using OAuth 2.0, you can have your Google, Microsoft, and Amazon credentials pass through and log you in as well. Security, let's see. Here is a screenshot of that. So this is OAuth 2 support for accounts. And again, you're signing in with, you're putting in your account name and password, and you're signing in with your Amazon credentials that are stored on your device. Clickable security icons, security lock icons. This allows you to get details about the security of network connection. So whether it's SSL secure, you can get the certificate information, the validity of the SSL certificate, and everything all right within your UI. So this can be built into your UI, and if you're switching layouts or switching tables or switching databases, this can become part of your UI to make sure that they know that they are encrypted or not encrypted. And if your internal system says, hey, we need to be encrypted, then you can say, hey, how do I do that to get help? And also we're giving you the ability to encrypt text in a field. So first off, we had encryption over the wire, which was encrypting anything passing to and from FileMaker server. Then in 15, we added encryption at rest for the whole database. And now in 16, we're allowing you to encrypt text in a field. So, for example, a great application of this would be you can now store Social Security numbers or credit card numbers, billing numbers, HIPAA-sensitive information, and have those fields that are highly secure be encrypted on a field-by-field basis. Scalability. We are now FileMaker WebDirect. When we first came out with WebDirect, we were recommending, I think it was 15 users, maybe 20 users at the most. Performance was the biggest issue. You had to really write a very robust, a very optimized web layout to get any performance out of it. FileMaker 15, I think we raised that to 50 users. And now with FileMaker WebDirect, we now support up to 500 users at the same time, simultaneously through a web browser. How does this work? The way this works is you do it in lots of 100, and we now support a worker machine, which is the database engine. So you'll have, let's say, in a 500 user scenario, you're going to have a FileMaker database server, and you're going to have 5 web service servers running the web connector. And you have one URL to give your users from the web, and that URL points them to the FileMaker database server. And the database server then parses that request out in a round-robin fashion via a very complicated algorithm, and it parses those requests out to your 5 worker machines. So request 1 comes in, it goes to the first machine, then to the second machine, to the third machine, and so forth and so on. And it doesn't just automatically round-robin that way all the time. It will look for the machine that's the least active and the least burdened at the time, and it will do its best to put that next request towards them. So, obviously, if you want 400 concurrent users, you would use a 5 server configuration and so on. This is not supported on FileMaker Cloud currently. We're still using a single server configuration on FileMaker Cloud. So just to kind of summarize the big things in FileMaker 16 is mobility, development, integration, security, and scalability. We are the operating system requirements. So Pro and Pro Advanced, we are requiring macOS Sierra 10.12 or later, OS 10, El Capitan 11.1, 10.11, 64-bit only. On Windows, it's Windows Standard Pro and Enterprise Editions, Windows 8.1 Standard and Pro, and Windows 7 Professional and Ultimate editions as well. And I read a note somewhere here that I think we are optimized for Windows 10. So ideally, you want your customers running Windows 10. I think that's it. That's the part of my presentation. Let's open it up for questions.
That's a lot to cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good meaty release.
Lots as well. Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Good release?
Oh, I'm loving it. I am loving it. Some of these, my mind's reeling with all the things we can do with this now. A lot of new opportunities. So.
Yeah, Darren, I almost jumped in to say woohoo when you said that this release was really geared toward the professional developer. We've really been waiting for that.
Yeah. And I think you can tell. I mean, I think you can tell this is. I think you can tell this is definitely got to me. I mean, you could spend between now and our next release on JSON and REST and not even scratch the surface. I don't think so. That much alone is going to get you, huge things. I saw somebody comment in there on here that you had said SDI is huge on Windows.
Oh yeah,
Chris. Yeah, that is huge. I mean, that was something we've always wanted to do, and Microsoft, the way their interface, I can't remember what they call it, but their interface manager just didn't allow us to do that, and now they changed it, and now we can take advantage of multiple windows and stuff like that. So that's huge.
Speaking as a representative for the dark side, I thank you. So.
Oh yes. No worries. Well, the dark side, yes, but about 75% of our sales are Windows on the desktop. So
Right. Right.
Yeah, we know.
But I think more than 75% of the developers are on Mac, so that's a funny situation.
But the dark side keeps the
I
lights
chuckle
on.
at the dark side thing. When I go to DevCon and everybody whips out their white Mac laptops and
Yeah.
I bring out my ThinkPad, I really do feel like I'm on the dark side. You know?
Well, the dark side keeps the lights on. So
computer, yeah.
Yep.
I had a quick question about the data API trial.
Yes.
Do you have, and can you say, is there a possibility that that's going to be a paid subscription in the future?
Possibly, yes. That's one thing that we are exploring. We're just not sure where we're going to get. We're going to do a trial for 1.5 years to see where it goes and see if it's something that's we'll see where the industry is at that point too, because and again it's just something that we're kind of testing it out to see where it goes, and it could. One of the options is it could be a paid subscription down the road.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you can understand that. Makes me a bit nervous, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Don't want to get too deep into it and then end up there's a price tag that the customer doesn't want to pay for. But it is what it
typically,
is. I can understand. I can understand why the company's going that way, but hedge your bets.
Well, yeah. When you think about it, it's like it's like the web. When the web first came out, everybody wanted web, but we couldn't figure out how to make money on the web, because I would go to a large customer and they'd have 100 users and they say, yeah, we want to do I can't remember what we used to call it. I can't remember what we used to call the web thing now. It's been so long, but
instant web publishing.
Instant web publishing. Oh yeah, it's like there's a reason I forgot that. But
I was going to say, clearly you never had to build anything with that, because you could never forget.
Oh, no. Yeah, so, but we had a lot of customers that said, hey, I want it, so, I want free, and so, we finally, as you've seen with WebDirect, we put a lot of enhancements into it, and it's almost on par with the desktop now, so, slowly over time, we gradually put the price up to where we, where you get the value out of it. And I would assume that the REST API, I mean, the data API is going to, if anything, if it does become charged in 18 months, it will be a very, very slow, gradual. It's not going to be okay, now you're stuck. We're going to stick you for, tens of thousands of dollars. I think it's going to be one of those where we'll put it in and slowly we'll give people a lot of, like when we changed our server concurrent license pricing, we gave people almost 2 years to head start on what the pricing is going to be. So.
Yeah, and it actually now with the 3-year licensing that they could get at the end of the 2 years, it's like they got a 5-year warning. I mean, what
they
more
get a 5-year window? Exactly. Yeah. So so things like
if
that.
If you're still using the same technology 5 years later, you should be happy. So.
Yeah. And just that's a case in point. That's a good point, because we consciously knew that that's not a loophole that kind of slipped through the cracks. We knew that we went in knowing that we gave people 2 years, and if they want to renew on the last day of the contract for another 3 years at the old price, we're more than happy to do that for them. So that's that's an example. We're not gonna try to break the bank.
Can you comment on the roadmap for PHP?
I think PHP
API and so forth is.
I think PHP as it stands is still going to be supported. That's a good question. Let me make a note to figure that out.
Okay. I'm sure nothing's going to be added or subtracted within the next week or anything. But
yeah, well, we always have a deprecation list that's fairly. I saw the deprecation list the other day that came as a result of this, and there was about 5 things on there. One of them
Yeah.
was we're dropping Mac Paint support, which
So
I don't even know what that
three
means.
people are going to be really upset about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody with a Mac Plus,
Well, yeah, ooh, those poor people.
Macintosh SE or whatever those. So
Right.
I'll find out about PHP future. Other questions?
Yeah, I think I saw something slide by on a. I've got a vague recollection that I saw something slide by on one of these roadmap meetings that made me worry. Nobody said explicitly that it was going away, but
What, PHP?
maybe it's just being de-emphasized, which probably wouldn't be a bad thing anyway.
Yeah.
I know I don't like writing PHP, but the people who like it love it. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll find out about that.
Yeah. Okay. Giles is asking, actually, Giles, looks like you sent this question directly to me, but you can send it to the group. Speaking of CWP, is there a future for XML? Giles, could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, somebody just talked about what would be the future of PHP, so the same question goes with the XML interface in CWP.
I think XML, I think what I heard was XML will eventually be phased out at some point. I don't know when. Certainly not in the short term that I know of, but I think that some of the stuff, again, it's one of those technologies that's anything over 2 years, anything over 2 years old gets long in the tooth after a while, and so I think where we're getting the most interest right now is JSON and curl and the REST API. So, but I know that there are still. I saw one of my slides had XML on there. I don't remember where that was, but oh yeah, plugin developers. Yeah, so it says plugin developers will be able to build their own UI for the custom scripts using a FileMaker provided XML description syntax. So it's definitely not going away because it's going to be part of the syntax for the way you build your own UIs.
And I think it's not on the deprecated list, so that means not until a few years it could go away.
Correct. Yes. Because typically, once it hits the deprecation list, then it's 2 to 3 years after that. So if it's not even on that list yet, it's not.
Thanks.
Yeah, so it's still in the project. I think the focus will be more on doing stuff internal to FileMaker, like the UI and things like that, as opposed to using XML as a data exchange.
Well, as long as you don't bring back XSLT.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody remember that? Did anybody slog through that besides me?
XSLT transformations, yes, that was.
Oh, that's some brain cycles I'll never get back.
Well, I think that was one of those things where everybody wanted it, nobody knew why.
Mm-hmm. And then once we had it, we realized we didn't really want it that badly. So.
And then when we finally put it in, then nobody wanted it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I made the mistake of doing a couple of websites and that, and I say mistake. I mean the websites worked and everything, but man, it was just cooked my noodle every time I had to go in and change anything. It was language. So I was glad when PHP support came out, and now even more glad with the REST API. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have other questions in it? The external script steps. Giles, you also asked this about whether we had any examples of that. I don't have any plugins yet that use that. I saw an announcement from 360works that they're they've added that to all their plugins, so you can download their new versions. And if I had half a brain, I would have downloaded one of their new plugins so we could take a look at that. But I'm apparently short at least half a brain. So.
Well, now you've got something to do in June.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let's see. So, and Ward commenting on the edit expression window. Yeah, that is nice. Finally, Tab does the same thing in all of the function windows. That's nice. With 14 and 15, I've just been losing my mind trying to figure out, do I hold down a modifier key or not when I want a tab?
Oh yeah.
And there's a 50-50 chance, so I score a 50 every time.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
know, I know.
I do wish shut it off by default. As much as I like the type ahead and I like the automatic evaluation, I do find that sometimes I type way faster than FileMaker can find my drop downs. And yeah, so sometimes that's a little annoying. I wish there was a way to like shut off the type ahead. Like I know what I'm typing. I'm ready. You know.
Yeah, definitely in version 14 and still kind of sometimes in 15 on Windows. We will crash FileMaker Pro with that when it's just really struggling to keep up. The whole app will just die, and that's of course you're right in the middle of a very.
I think that for me, I haven't had that happen in 15, but in 14, yeah, I could out-type 14 all the time. I love it when I need it. When I want the type ahead, it's awesome. But sometimes I just want FileMaker to leave me alone and let me type.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't need a list. I know exactly what I'm typing. So, but and the automatic evaluation is kind of the same thing. It's like sometimes I want to finish the whole thing first. Stop working at this. But you can shut that off, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
You can shut off the automatic evaluation so that if you're a quarter of the way through a very long case statement or something like that, you can tell it don't evaluate yet. Just let me finish.
Right.
So that's nice.
Somebody mentioned cards. What's the difference between cards and modal new window?
Oh yeah.
I think if I
Darren, do you have an example file handy? Because I do. If you don't,
I don't. If you have one.
Yeah, sure. Let me just go ahead and grab the window here. And I was thinking, by the way, for the group, feel free to unmute to talk. That's feel free to jump in. Don't let us do all the talking, or you won't get your questions answered. But I was thinking, we can go through some of these features and actually see them in FileMaker, and nothing real formal, just kind of kick the tires. So here's a demo file for cards. And for example, this is a card window. So the card window, as opposed to a modal window, there's no title bar, there's no status area, nothing like that. It really is just a floating window. It is kind of slaved to the parent window. So if I were to close the main window, which this demo is not allowing me to do, but if I were to close the main window, the card would close with it. So it's almost like a pop-up dialog or an alternative to a popover more than it is a window, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more like one of the popovers or slide control things.
And it works the same on the iPhone?
Say again?
It works the same on the iPhone or mobile devices?
Yes.
Yes, it does. It does not work on WebDirect, though.
Huh.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Darren, but last I checked, it doesn't work on WebDirect.
I don't know. You probably know. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. That is the last I heard. Is that yeah? I imagine that would be nigh on impossible in a web browser, but yeah, it works on iOS, works on the desktop. And what else is cool about this is this floating window can be from a totally different context or even a totally different file can be open here, but it's still slaved to the main window. So it has a lot of possibilities, like showing related data without making the user leave the window. Technically, they're still in the window. They're just like popping up kind of a sub window.
Yep.
Also for customized dialogues, the show custom dialogue is great, but you don't have, drop down calendars. You can only have 3 fields. You can only have 3 buttons, that sort of thing. This opens up a lot of possibilities for having really robust dialogues.
Yeah,
with drop down lists and things like that, and still have it feel normal.
Yep.
Whereas the modal window kind of feels contrived. It's not really a window. I mean, excuse me, it's not really a dialogue. It's hard to make it look like one. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm getting pretty good at it, making it look like one.
Yeah, me too. Over the years, but boy, it'd be nice to never ever do that again.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we're pretty excited about there is that we've often found, I think, some great opportunities for creating kind of utilities that are really common, consistent across the solution in a popover. But the challenge there is that if you've done something like that and you have a big solution with many layouts and you've deployed that popover all over the place, you got to go around and fix it everywhere every time you want to change the thing, right? So the idea here that we can sort of decouple the popover from the layout and have the popover, all the content on that sort of utility, that on-screen utility, all live in one place is just huge. Suddenly that makes maintaining and enhancing these things just way more accessible. Much less work, much less manual labor there. So a big deal for us on that one.
Yeah, one idea that we've had, in our base solution, which anybody who's been in this meeting more than a couple of times has seen this, right? But we have things like attachments or objectives that can really be subordinate to just about any data element. So we end up copying and pasting and repointing these portals all over the place. Or as Jason said, you could do that with a popover, but still, if something changes, you've got to go change it on every blasted screen, And copy, paste, and repoint isn't terrible, but it's time consuming. An idea we've been playing with, live without a net at the moment. Let me see if I can. I'm going to give myself about 2 seconds here, but if I can't pull this up, we'll move on. Let's see. Come on. Oh, great. This is a skunkworks file. It's not very complete. Let's see, show window. And I'm not getting it to work at all, so I'm going to let that go. But the idea here was to have the idea that we're playing with. Again, it's a skunkworks thing. But rather than having these as tabs, having buttons at the bottom for, show my related attachments, show my related activities, show my related objectives, and having those pop up in a card window so that there can be basically one list view that no matter where I am in the system, if I just hit the button, we bring it up in that card window, and then we're maintaining a layout instead of a bunch of copies of a portal. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's just kind of, we're brainstorming and, spitballing some ideas.
That's interesting, yeah.
All over.
But as you probably know from previous meetings, our obsession is about extensibility, not having to go, oh, I changed something, let's go double click 4,000 objects and change them, And I think the card opens up a lot of possibilities there. So,
Chris, you had mentioned something in your QuickBooks Online.
Yeah, as I understand it, I haven't integrated with QuickBooks Online. I've integrated with QuickBooks the desktop. But from what I understand, there was an OAuth problem that actually Todd Geist had created a solution for that would get through all the OAuth junk, and now here it is built in. So,
and I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, that using the data Fmpug data API, you can, or no, either JSON or curl, you could probably talk to QuickBooks Online without a plugin.
Oh, nice. I
think I heard that. In other words, because it's a it's a web app, and they've got an API obviously, and so you don't have to have a plugin now. You can just talk directly to it through REST or curl. I mean JSON or curl.
Oh, excellent. So at the same time we're improving plugins, we're making them less necessary. So
yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. Well, it's like Jesse had Super Container for probably 5 years, and then we kind of built that in, and then now the QuickBooks one, they've had a long run on that. So now I think QuickBooks Desktop will probably still require a plugin. Would be my guess.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'll still get some business out of that.
Yeah, don't quote me on the online, but I thought I heard one of the engineers the other day saying that you'd be able to connect to that via the RESTful API.
Nice. Not a big fan of QuickBooks Online, incidentally. So I tried switching internally because we use QuickBooks, and I quickly switched back. It's not nearly as robust as the desktop product, but it's great for accessibility. So.
Oh yeah, for wherever you are.
Are you talking about QuickBooks for Windows or Mac?
Well, QuickBooks Online is either one because you interact with it through a web browser.
Right, but you said you already integrated FileMaker with QuickBooks on the desktop?
Oh yes, I've done it on a PC. I think years ago I did it on the Mac when the QuickBooks Mac product was a bit more robust and widely used. I believe there is QuickBooks Desktop for Mac, and there are plugins that interact with it, but the customers I've gotten for those types of projects have all been Windows. So
use it for one of my clients uses, but I didn't think there was an API for it.
That's a good question. I wonder if was it Productive Computing now that has the big one, right? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Here I am typing. It's already figured me out. Good old Google reading my mind. Let's see. So if I look at their plugins, Fmpug Connector Online, which apparently figured out the OAuth problem. And this.
I'm doing now, Windows or Mac.
Yeah. Oh, just Windows. Yeah, this plugin only works with Windows.
I may be wrong, but I don't know that that QuickBooks has a Mac. I think it's online only for Mac.
Yeah, they didn't have a Mac product for a while. I thought they came back with like a stripped down QuickBooks for Mac.
QuickBooks Pro.
Vague recollection. Like I said, the clients I've had in recent history that had QuickBooks were all Windows, so I never really had to look into it.
They had QuickBooks for Mac. It was just the integration with FileMaker just wasn't there.
Okay.
This was about 3 to 5 years ago. I was president of an HOA. I had written a system, and I was thinking about just doing it in-house or trying to sell it and then integrate it with QuickBooks. So I went to a couple QuickBooks classes. I was going to have to move the whole thing to a Windows environment. Not a big deal because the integration there. And the small telecommunication company that I had been working for, we used QuickBooks. And even though some of us had Mac, the people in the financial office had Windows machines.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
It was used for Windows. It was Windows.
Okay.
So is there an iOS app SDK resource for 16 in the pen?
Yes. I would do search our knowledge base, and you should be able to find it in there.
Well, there's one for 15 that's available, but I went to the.
Oh, you haven't. Oh, it may not be up yet, but they're. If not, it'll be up.
They're building it.
Yeah.
They're building it, they're testing it. I know it will take a while to get that through.
Yeah.
But okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
And again, I think I told you that. I'm not sure if I said this or not, but FileMaker Cloud is still on version 15. So and single machine configuration. That's not 16 won't be out till later on in the year.
Do you know if FileMaker Cloud is going to support PHP?
That I don't know. I have not been as up to date on that as I should be. I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a little list of some of the things I could demo. A lot of the stuff is on an iPad, which is a little difficult to demo on the desktop, but some of the stuff, like we talked about cards, we can actually look at this together. Like the layout object window, kind of virtual show of hands, who hasn't seen that? The layout object window. Anybody?
I have.
Yeah. Well, this is, it's awfully cool. Oh, good. Okay, so it's new to somebody. Good. A lot of times in FileMaker, as you know, we end up stacking things or grouping things, and things can get pretty convoluted. You're trying to change something, you know, in the back of a group, and you have to like take it all apart and so forth. Well, now, by the way, this is just a scratch file here. There's nothing actually interesting, right? But let's say I've got this button, and just for clarity, I'm going to name them. You know, so this is a button, and then, you know, here's some text that I just put on the button, didn't I? That wasn't what I meant to do. Okay. Here's some text, and we'll call that good old text, right? And actually, I will put a name on this, all right? And maybe there's a block that it's part of. Yeah, this is all very carefully laid out, right? And we'll just call this block. And then I go and group this, right? And now I want to change, let's say, the font on the text.
Yep.
It's like I've got to take the whole blasted thing apart. But now with the, oh, this is new to me too. Where's the object viewer? View layout objects. You get this hierarchy of what's on your layout. So within this group, I have the text, the button, and the block. And you can show and hide things, right? So I can say I want to just see the block here. Or you can select one of them, like let's say the text here, and change the font of it, which I will try to do everything kind of manually here, right? And I've targeted, you know, I've just changed the text. I didn't change the whole group. So huge advantage here, you know, and you can see what's inside what, you know. You can select multiple things and, you know, hide them, show them. So you can take whole layers of your layout and just hide them and work on the things that are in the back, or, you know, things that are part of a group but without working on the whole group. Really just kind of gives you a map of the whole thing.
You can change the stacking order too?
You can do what now?
Change the stacking order. So can you put the text?
That I don't know. That's a good question. Let's try it. So let's take this button. Hide all other. What happens if I?
Well, I think because you're grouped that you might not be able to stack it, but the individual.
Yeah, maybe if it wasn't. Let's do that. Let's show the block. Oh, I apparently did. Send it back.
Oh yeah.
Bring forward. Without even ungrouping. Oh man, I didn't even realize you could do that. That's awesome.
Because that's
Yeah,
often
so
the
you
problem.
can change the stacking order in the group without ungrouping it. Oh man. Yeah, because we need less and less of the stacking. I can remember back in FileMaker 4 and 5 days, especially. You'd sometimes end up stacking a dozen or more objects. They did some ridiculous tricks back then. So we need less and less of that, but it still happens, and it's still a real pain to take everything apart, change it, put it all back together, get it in the right stacking order, and get it exactly back where it used to be. And by the time all that is done, it's bedtime.
Yep.
So this thing is going to be a real time saver. So let's see, there was that one. And by the way, anybody who has one of these features that these are in no particular order. So if there's anything you want to see more of, just pipe up.
Hey, I had a question, Chris.
Yes.
So as a Windows user,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to do anything to take advantage of the new UI on Windows, the STI, or is that?
No, it just opens up like this. So here's my test file that I have open, right? And I have that in a window. And here's my demo file over here. And see, I don't have the big ugly. Well, here I can demonstrate the big ugly because I still have 14 open. See how this has, up until now, in Windows, you had an application window and all your windows were stuck inside it. If I wanted to create a new window, I could do that, but I've kind of got a defined workspace. Another thing that was a pain in the butt about this is if you maximize one window, you maximize all windows.
Oh.
There's no having one window maximized and another window smaller, or they all kind of moved in lockstep. Whereas now, and I do realize, by the way, I've just got this whole cluster of windows up here. Let me see if I can trim the fat a little bit. So now I got to close this. There we go. Okay, so I've got these windows can be anywhere. I can maximize this one and switch between them. See, so this one's not maximized, but that one is, and they're both open in 16. That makes a huge difference, And
so your life is
also,
better.
Yeah, it is. And also, like down here, you get the sort of thing you expect in most programs now on Windows. Like if I have, two Google Chrome windows open and I click here, I can pick between them, right? Can't do that here. It's open or it's closed. But in 16, I've got, here's my JSON functions file, here's my script workspace, here's my cards, here's my test. That right there is really nice, especially for a professional developer, where I might have solutions open from 5 different clients at the same time, and my solution up until then, which you can probably see my trick, is to have several versions of FileMaker installed. And I'll actually run our internal solution in 14 or even 13. I'll have another one open with another solution because also they look alike. So if I get them all in that application window together, covering each other up, I can't tell you how many times I've developed a whole script and then realized I was in the wrong file.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, and you're
It
like,
was
oh
so
man, no wonder it's not working, you know? There's no such table here, you know? Now I'll be able to just go down here and go, well, this is this solution, this is this solution, it's labeled, I know where I am. You know?
I have another a great use case for this this new feature for Windows. We have some clients who really have been aching to take advantage of the fact that they have multiple gigantic monitors, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, they just, you know, want so badly to put 30 FileMaker windows out across them so they can do everything at once and everything. And I sound like I'm making fun of them, but I mean, I use a couple monitors for development as well. And so when I'm on Mac, this is a great big deal, right? You can get, you know, you kind of get so many things going at once and copy paste, and it's just excellent, right? But they, of course, are, you know, using FileMaker solution, and on Windows, you are, you know, you're trapped inside the application window. So I went as far as showing folks over the past, you know, several versions of FileMaker. I'm like, well, if you don't maximize the window, you can actually stretch it across all three of your monitors, okay? And then you can start placing windows throughout there. But inevitably, the display drivers and things like that just, you know, went into conniption fits, and they would crash their computers or crash, you know, FileMaker or whatever, right? It was never very stable. So we have some folks who are anxiously awaiting the ability to just, you know, go bananas with Windows across every monitor they can find. So this is long waited for by those folks.
Oh, good.
I have one annoyance, and I think it's only in Windows. When you're typing a calculation and you want to use the tab key to do some indentation on Windows, it's 8 characters wide, and you can get it to 4. And I don't know if I'm right, but I was under impression that on the Mac, the tab was not that large.
So you're talking about here, like if I wanted to.
Yeah, if you type a tab, it's gonna go right for 8 character. Yeah, instead of 4.
Like
so it can go very large if you have 3 or 4 tabs.
Right.
And if you don't want that, you need to use spaces and.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's awful. Yeah. I didn't know you could change. Do you just naturally get a smaller tab on Mac, or?
I don't recall. I don't recall.
Who's on a Mac? Who's on a Mac and has FileMaker open?
I don't have it open.
Yeah?
I don't have it open either.
Okay. What do you want me to do, guys?
Yeah, can we come to your desktop and see what a tab looks like in the just in an expression?
What do I have to do?
Here, I'll make you the presenter, okay?
Yeah.
You'll see something on your screen that says give control, or not give control, but just show my screen. I don't need control of your screen. I'm so used to taking control. I have control issues. So let's see, there we are. I'm gonna make presenter. There you go. So if you just click the button that says show my screen, we'll all be looking at your screen.
Okay.
There you go.
There's
so
tabs
if
here.
you were to open up, just open up like a data viewer.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Under Tools, Data Viewer.
Oh. I'm doing a brain fart. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You know what?
That's the great thing about a virtual meeting. We can't smell brain farts. So it's under the Tools menu.
You know what? I didn't think I opened. I didn't. Let me reopen it.
No, it's okay. You don't even need to have a file open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just go under Tools and then Data Viewer. Yeah.
Oh.
And then under the Watch tab, create new. Yeah, and oh geez, is it Option tab to get a tab in on a Mac? I'm used to Control tab. Yeah, there you go. No, that looks about the same width, Joss.
Oh.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm always
copy a word
interested
into there to see how many characters go in that space.
Oh yeah, do that. Yeah, we don't need a file open for this. James.
Okay.
Yeah, so create a new one, type out like part of the alpha, like A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. And then on a new line, put a tab. And where do you end up? About how far into the alphabet?
You'll need to do something like open tab or
Yeah, see, I went down new line.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
the cursor? Now let me tab, and I don't see anything.
No, you need Option tab. Option
I'm
tab.
sorry.
Otherwise, it'll tab out of the box. By the way, that's something I wish they had carried over from the other. They finally got that fixed in the other function
Okay,
interface.
there it goes, about 5.
Yeah.
About 5 characters. And
Yep, see,
then,
it's on the E.
yeah, and if I do the same over here,
on Windows. Let me try again.
yeah, let's drag you back here, and
Yeah,
if
so it's
I
25
look here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and Option tab. Ooh,
Yeah, it's larger.
yeah,
Right.
it is definitely. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just eyeballing it, it looks about the same, but that is different. Yeah. Huh. I can see why the smaller would be better. We tab religiously, you know, trying to just make stuff readable because we write some pretty long functions.
Yeah.
So, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, by the way, this is where the drop downs, like if I start typing, I get the type ahead functions, which we were getting in places in FileMaker 15, but now it's everywhere. And then also it's this automatically evaluate. So if I say left of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H for 4, see, it just automatically shows me the result. I don't have to hit evaluate now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But what I was saying was I like that you can shut it off. If you're about to write something really complicated and you want to finish first, you can shut it off and go back to the old way of, evaluate when I'm good and ready.
Chris, back to that.
I just wish they had a checkbox for the type ahead. But
Chris,
go
back
ahead.
to that tab issue.
Yeah.
The tab being different characters. I'm wondering if that's not an OS thing. I'm wondering if the Windows tab, is set, because I can't imagine why we would put a different tab on, both
I would
each platform. I'm
I
assuming it's
would
pulling
wager
from the Mac.
heavily that it's OS. Over the years,
Right.
just about anything that really is a difference between Windows and Mac has to do with the with the OS.
Yeah, I think it is OS. I would guess that's an OS
Yeah.
issue.
You know what? The other thing it could be, font size and how the fonts are proportioned.
Yeah, you don't get to pick a font in here. And there is a subtle difference between Windows and Mac fonts. I've noticed.
Correct.
Like labels that are added by a developer on Mac will sometimes get clipped on Windows depending on the font.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that, but they're not usually, this is almost double the width on Windows, which is surprising. Learn something new every day and I'm done for the day. So, yeah. Differences on Mac, on PC. I really miss type ahead. There's a lot of type ahead that went away with, I think, 13. I was hoping we'd get more of that back, but there were some subtle changes, actually, Jason was pointing out to me, like in script steps, like, what was it? Interfine mode, right? Some of the more obvious things have been moved out here, so you can just, hit spacebar.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great because one of my pet peeves is some of the defaults in FileMaker scripts are crazy. Like with pause on by default. You know, I use that about 1 in 10,000 times I want it on, so it's just part of the normal thing to shut it off. Or my personal favorite, go to record request page. Last, they didn't move this one out here, but well, no, it's next, and they did move it out here. Exit after last is off by default.
Oh.
I've never once used that step with the exit after last not turned on. I don't know why that's the default. I will tell you that about 1 out of 4 times that I use this step, I forget to turn it on.
What about send mail? What does it default to?
Send mail, I think, defaults to dialogue on. Yeah, defaults to dialogue on. Yeah. See, that one's probably okay, you know? Yeah, because, you know, if you're going to screw it up with too much information, you know?
Well, screw it up with 15. If you're doing emails out to 200 people, and there's something that you don't want going out, you got 200 windows to close rather than apologizing to 200 people. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, this one's always killed me. Like, I just have not been able to come up with a single circumstance that I would want to do an endless loop on the last record. You know, why would you do that?
You are correct. Even when I used to program in COBOL, I don't remember that.
Yeah. There are some things I miss in the new interface. Like I was saying, you know, the type ahead, being able to type ahead to a command. You know, like I would back before. But overall, I love the direction. So, what else do we have on the list that might be interesting to see? We've got copying and pasting value lists. It's nice and easy to show here. So just you have a actually you don't have a copy button. You have, I guess, you Control C. Actually, I don't know that. I realize.
You have to edit.
No, it's not in the edit.
Oh, I thought you had to go in and copy the values that were in there.
No, see, now you don't have to. So, see, it's command keys, though. I'm surprised.
Does it duplicate? Duplicate down there?
Duplicate works, but if I wanted to move it to another file, I can Control C or Command C on a Mac. Let me discard my changes, go to a completely different, try and find a completely different file in my smattering here. If I go File, Manage, Value Lists, I can paste.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So rather than having to copy the contents, go to another file, add the name,
a whole new list. Yeah.
Right. You can bring the whole thing over. So
that's cool.
That's been kind of a notable gap, you know, because other things like custom functions and scripts and so forth, you've been able to copy as a whole, but value lists for some reason were left out. So they're up to speed now. Variables and data sources. Anybody else excited about this? I've done some experimentation with it, so I have some comments to add, but does everybody know what that even means? It got quiet, so I'm going to assume that at least somebody is unclear, but you can now put global variables in here. Which you couldn't do before to address other files.
Yep.
Yeah, it has some exciting implications, you know, because you can set a global variable dynamically. So this is useful for, well, first when you've got data separation or modular separation, you know, you're not working in a single file solution, But then on top of that, if you're working with groups of files that are similar, but for different clients and therefore with different file names and that sort of thing, you can dynamically set the name of the file you want to address. If that makes sense. So it's a little esoteric, but if you've ever discovered that you need this, you're excited about this. So anybody think they might use that? Because I could talk about it for a little bit more, but cricket. All right, so moving on. Does anybody else want to see any other features in here? Like I said, I've got kind of a list here, but it's in no particular order, nor is it complete. Anybody want to kick the tires with me?
Go over the cards again, please.
Yeah, sure. So I actually have this demo file, but the demo file is great for, well, demonstrating one use case. But let's just do something in a testing file, right? So let's say I've got, I'll make a brand new layout, and yeah, for a computer, whatever, and we'll drop some fields on here. These mean absolutely nothing, so if you're looking for meaning, you will not find it. And just to make things interesting, we'll put that in table view. Oh man, I cannot remember. Oh, that's right, you have to go into browse to do that. I don't use table view that much. View as table. And let's see, this layout is based on test, really carefully named test. Do I have others? Yeah, I have a date stuff table. So let's create a new layout based on the date stuff. All right, and this has some fields, right? Begin date, end date, okay. So if for the nothing up my sleeve portion, I believe there's no relation between date stuff and test, completely unrelated, okay? And now we'll write a quick script. I'll write it from scratch. Okay, new window, and we want this to be a card window. You can put a name on it, like, my card window. And I want the layout to be this layout number 10 that I made. And you can specify a size, but it defaults to kind of a comfortable size for the main window. You have window options like, do you want to be able to close it, or do you want to leave that to buttons, etc. Whether to dim the parent window, whether to allow, let me see. Oh, you don't get options for minimize, maximize, resize, menu bar, toolbar. All of that is off for a card window. But if I run this, and I'll kind of get it out of our way.
So it's layout 11.
Brings it up. What's that now? Okay, so I'm in layout 11 and opening a card window for layout 10 on top of it. And does that look wrong? Anybody? Something went wonky here, did it not? My window is too large, is what it is. Let me give it size. We'll make it like 500 square. I was just touting how it gives it a comfortable size, and then it kindly did not. So then we'll put it like 50 from the top and 50 from the left. There you go. And I can actually work within this window. Is this giving you a good picture of the card?
I'm in there thinking, what is going to replace popovers, you think? Is that what it is?
No, I don't think it replaces it. It's just different.
Okay.
You know, there's things that you could do with either a slide panel or a popover or a card window, and there's some things that just work better for one or the other.
Gotcha.
You know,
I think it's when kids get used to using it.
Yeah, it does have one of the challenges of popovers, and popovers and portals. You know, you can't put a portal within a portal. You can't put a popover within a popover. You also can't put a card within a card.
Okay.
So just the fact that we have some things to select from, you know, sometimes you, like some of those cases where you'd like to put a popover in a popover, now you open a card and open a popover within the card. So it kind of gives you one more layer, you see?
Yeah, makes perfectly good that makes good sense.
Yeah, and if you're consistent about it, you can make those layers kind of intuitive. You know, that people are seeing what they'd expect at every layer. So I imagine you could also make it a hodgepodge where you click a button and have no idea what's going to happen, right? But if what I'm expecting to find is that if I'm consistent about, you know, my first layer, that, you know, I'm going to use cards for specific things and popovers for specific things, but in that layering kind of, you know, getting details about details about details, you know, I'm expecting I'll start with a card, from the card open a popover, on the popover have a slide panel, you know, and never the twain shall meet, you know, don't end up switching that order around. Say again?
Boys and their toys.
Oh, you know it. You know it. Yeah, I'm really excited about the reuse of layouts for myself. You know, that you know, you can have that very carefully crafted layout. You can access it from all over the system without having to rebuild it on every layout. So seems like it should open up a lot of possibilities. We've talked about putting navigation in a card window, for instance. You know, like the kind of main menu sort of deal. Being able to pull that up in a card might be nice, rather than leaving, going to a whole other layout and coming back. So.
This is a semi-dumb because I haven't used it. If you're on an iPhone or an iPad and you pull up a card, does that keep the back menu there?
The
back layout. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yes, but not on WebDirect.
Okay.
So the card window should behave the same on iOS, but on WebDirect you just get a new window. So.
Okay. Well, you have to work within the limits of the coding for HTML. Well, the coding. And I haven't done that.
You know, some of these options, like if I don't want to dim the parent window, and then I run it. Oh, well, that's not very exciting now that my fields aren't even visible behind it. I'll move them over a little bit. And on my very carefully crafted layout, right? You see now I can see the back window very clearly, but if I turn on the dimming, I personally think I'd stick with the dimming most times, but see, then it's really clear, like, how come I can't click over here, you know? And I don't know if you can hear it, but it's beeping at me like crazy, telling me no can do, you know? It's a modal window.
Did the server version get any new features that you guys are excited about?
Jason, are you still here? Jason's gone quiet. I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Server, I'll jump in. Server, I think off the top of my head, the biggest things are, you know, the ability to have the multiple worker machines in WebDirect. That's all handled through server. Server is also it's very, very important in the data API. It'll be server that's sending information to these other sending out the API requests to these other applications. So
yeah, so I can't think of any enhancements to like the administrative dashboard or anything like that, but
no, there wasn't much in the
no,
servers other than most of it.
Right, but just you know, what it's doing with the REST API, where you know the web can talk to the server in this new language. That's a pretty serious enhancement, even though you won't see it in the UI that much.
Oh yeah.
So the answer is yes and no. But let's see. I wish. By the way, this is probably a smart group of people to ask this question to. Does anybody know of a good application for putting an iPad on your desktop, particularly on Windows, but even on a Mac?
Reflector.
What's it called?
Reflector.
Reflector, and is there a Windows product for that?
I don't know. I use it on the Mac. I assume there's a Windows.
Because I'm doing more and more on iOS, which is fantastic. But I do a lot of GoToMeetings, like this one, where I'd like to talk about the animations and so forth, but you can't see my iPad. So
well, the other one is to do a QuickTime movie.
Yeah.
Do a new recording and then choose source as your iPad, and it'll show up that way too.
Really? Okay. So if I were running QuickTime. Okay.
You just open up QuickTime, create a new recording, and the source is your iPad. You choose iPad as a source, and it will. The reason I don't like it as much is because you have to be tethered.
Yeah.
Reflector works wireless, and you don't have to be tethered. And also, the QuickTime one has a big, ugly Windows. It's like a window around it, so it doesn't really look like an iPad. And Reflector actually gives you a visual of an iPad.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah. Boy, I'd like to get that. I wish I could get that Reflector for Windows. I might have to just start using a Mac for some demonstrations.
I can
iOS
show you
stuff.
if you want. I can show you if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Actually,
yeah.
Let me log. I gotta
going off
boot
on
up my iPad here.
Nobody wants to stop us.
Jason, I have Chris, I have a iOS user group here in the Orlando area, and on Monday I'll bring that up and see if anybody knows about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd rather not install QuickTime for Windows. I know QuickTime is a go-to app on the Mac. On Windows, it's practically a virus.
Right.
Yeah, it's huge, and it tries to take over everything. So I try not to put QuickTime specifically on my PC because it just wreaks havoc on everything else. Of course, it may have gotten better. I haven't tried in a while, but all right. So, Darren, we can see your screen.
Yeah, you can see my screen, but I got to turn Wi-Fi on. And let me go to AirPlay mirroring.
I'm actually working on a really fun project and finishing up another really fun project, both of which are iOS specific. And
There it is.
man, it'd be cool to show them off better.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
There it is.
okay. Now, can you interact with it with your mouse, or are you interacting with it with your finger on the iPad?
I am moving it around with my mouse, but if I want to open something, I have to use my
Okay. Well, that's probably better
finger.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mouse.
So here it is, and I
basically
found open
just
up
shows
Fmpug
it on the
Go.
screen, right? Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, nice, and it'll even rotate and everything.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I do want. Like I said, I may even just get a Mac for presentations.
Yeah, so Reflector works really good. It's called from a company called Squirrel.
Oh, that's good information. Yeah.
And it's in the App Store?
It's a desktop application. Yeah. I don't know if you can get it in the App Store or not. This is what it is, Reflector 2. I think it's I don't know if you can get it in the App Store or not. I think I possibly bought it in the App Store, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's super cool.
But if you do Windows, let me see if I can figure out how to do it. So if I go, let's close this down.
Bento?
I still keep my passwords in Bento.
Oh.
I haven't moved it over yet. Let's see here. If I go, what was I trying to do? Oh, I need to go into applications.
Ooh, Jason Sanders is saying that Reflector 2 is available for Windows.
Oh, I don't have a cord over here. I don't have a cord. But anyway, yeah, when you do it in QuickTime, you create a new, so you do new movie recording,
Yeah.
and then you select your source as what your, wherever you check your source, and then it opens up, but it's a, it doesn't look like an iPad. It's just, I mean, what you get the appearance of what's on your iPad, but it's just like a flat, like it looks like a card window.
Right.
With a block around it, and it just doesn't. I mean, your customers have to make the leap that that's an iPad.
Yeah, and they're already having to do that when I show them iPad layouts on my desktop. You know, I mean, yeah it kind of works the same, but
yeah.
It's $14.99. I just went to the webpage.
Oh well, I know what I'm getting immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
One of
what
the
I'll
things,
use.
you know, when I wasn't doing much iOS development, it wasn't that big a deal. But more and more, I find myself trying to show somebody, and I do almost all of my work remotely. I'm very, very seldom on site with the client. So,
Chris,
and even when I am,
it's called Mac,
you're all
Windows,
huddling
Android,
around
and
this
Fire
little
TV.
screen. Say again, I'm sorry?
The application goes Reflector 2, Mac, Windows, Android, and Fire TV.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely getting that.
And it's Air Squirrels, AIR Squirrels.
Yeah, I just found it on Google. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It
That's
works good.
the cost of admission right there. So.
Did other people get my little note that if you go on the road with your, say, MacBook Pro, you ever use Duet, you can make your second screen using your iPad? And actually, you can actually use your iPhone, too.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I have one person I go to once in a while, and I just set it up there, put my iPad, because out there, and basically you got a second screen, so when you're doing debugging, you can have a thing running in the side, you know?
Oh, very nice.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
That is very cool.
It's called Duet.
Yeah. Cool.
Chris, it's about the top of the hour. I'm gonna log out. If there are any questions before I.
Yeah, we are kind of at that time. Any last minute questions, comments? Not chasing anybody out the door, but it is about that time. I will take your silence as acquiescence.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate.
All
right,
right,
thanks.
great demo, Darren. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. And everybody look for your emails for next month's topic, or feel free to, as always, feel free to suggest a topic or volunteer to present a topic. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. See everybody next month.